Hey, what up YouTube? It's your boy Mag. So I have been working at trying to get a recording solution for the 7900 XTX in Ultrawide done. I've been messing with stuff for a couple hours now, and I finally think I've got it figured out. I think the 5600X 3D just can't do it all, at least not in this game. What am I running at right now? Where is my CPU? CPU utilization right now is at 90%. This game is super CPU heavy. I tried Streamlabs, and it seemed like it was recording just fine, but I think this resolution and/or just recording combined was too much. So I'm actually recording right now with the Adrenaline software. It will record at the base resolution of the game, pop my camera up, I can record on my microphone, so that's actually pretty cool. The video quality seems okay, it captures the overlay, so I think we're gonna go with it. And well, if you're seeing this video right now, it worked, and
Welcome
I
aboard,
went with it.
Helldiver. The Super Destroyer is yours.
I want to say right off the bat, though, I have not been super happy with this AMD system. It's why you haven't seen any footage of it in such a long time. The AMD drivers, or the software suite, I know people say that it's better, it's fine, it's all these things, but I've had a lot of issues with it. You know, everybody on Facebook says skill issue, blah blah blah. Okay, what's the skill issue then? What skill do I need to learn so that things just work on AMD like they do in NVIDIA? And the couple of examples I have are, first off, Helldivers. When the game first came out, you know, AMD didn't have a game-ready driver like NVIDIA did, and the game played, but a lot of people were crashing. Helldivers was real buggy, period, so all the blame is not on AMD. That being said, I was able to play Helldivers on my 4070 Super system and my 4090 system with relative few crashes and problems. In order to get it to run on the XTX, I followed some of the workarounds that people were posting online, like disabling global screen space illumination. I used Radeon Chill to cap the frames to 120, and it would run, and that was fine. But then they released a new driver that was supposed to fix the crashing, and then it wouldn't run at all. And in fact, like, I could load into the ship like this, but I couldn't even get to the settings to try and turn stuff down or see what was going on. Nothing. It would just crash. So I got kind of fed up at that point and put the system away, metaphorically speaking. And I've been playing Baldur's Gate, and I've been playing Helldivers 2 on my 4090 system, and just not worrying about a thing. A couple of driver releases have happened since then, so I downloaded the latest drivers and on AMD, and I wanted to try it out. So I tried just the other day, and the overlay that you see on the screen right now was up, and I couldn't toggle it off. It was just on my desktop all the time. So I fixed that last night. I had to completely remove Adrenaline and the AMD drivers and then reinstall them. And now I can toggle it on and off like normal. It's not like a huge deal, but it's just one of those things that, like, I'd rather not have to do that. And it's reminiscent of my 6800 XT system, the very first system I ever built. That thing was a mess. I'm not even going to get into that right now, but the stuff on AMD just, for me, doesn't work as well and reliably as the NVIDIA stuff does. And I wish it did. I wish I knew why. Again, the skill issue thing, please tell me, what is the skill issue? What is the skill that I need to be able to run AMD without having to, you know, reinstall drivers and stuff? And I don't know. Another issue I've had, Forza Motorsports is another one of my favorite games. I played that a lot last fall, and it just wouldn't run right on this system. Again, it ran fine on my NVIDIA systems, but on this one, like, it would run, and it got decent frames, but the performance was way less than what it should have been. I couldn't get more than like 80-85% GPU utilization. And I thought, okay, well, maybe I'm CPU bottlenecked with this 5600X3D, but I checked and double-checked and triple-checked my CPU usage, and it was only like 30%, so that doesn't seem to be the issue. I don't know. At any rate, it's working now, and I really wanted to put it through the paces in the ultra-wide format. So I'm happy that it's playing. I'm really happy with this recording software so far, so let's just get into a match. I've had to switch to do a voiceover for this part. For some reason, as soon as the game loaded in, I lost my microphone track being recorded with the AMD software, so I'm just doing a voiceover in Premiere Pro right now. But as you can see, the settings are all turned up, they're all maxed out. That was the default how it loaded. Except for volumetric clouds, we're on medium. So I just left that alone to see how it does. And you can see here, the performance is pretty good. I mean, we're getting 120, 130 FPS at times with really good 1% lows. You know, the 1% lows, I don't think I've seen them drop below 100 in this session here. But if you'll notice, the CPU utilization is the lowest I think I saw was 80-something%, but for the most part during this recording we are 90 to 100% CPU utilization. I tried a match after this and before this, and really the difference when not recording was very minimal. It was still running pretty much maxed out. So I guess there's two takeaways here, and one is that the 5600X3D has become a bottleneck, and I don't use that word lightly, but very clearly here we're seeing it maxed out. Now I don't know that, you know, the GPU utilization is still pretty high, so I'm not sure how much more frames we would pick up, but it stands to reason that we would definitely pick up more frames if we weren't running 100% CPU utilization. So I'll talk about this later on in the video after we get through all the gameplay videos, but I'm going to have to upgrade this to an AM5 platform. I have considered, debated, you know, maybe I do a 5800X3D first to see how that improves performance. I'm just kind of dubious about that. I would really like to do it for science, but, you know, I'm spending my own money on all these parts. I don't have any sponsors or anybody, you know, to give me parts to test and to try out and stuff, so I'd have to spend my own money on a 5800X3D only to turn around and then spend more money on an AM5 platform, which I'm definitely going to do on this system. I'm morbidly curious, though, very curious, if the 2 extra cores would help me out here. I think that they might, but I could be off base here. The reason that I say that is, you don't see it in the footage here, but for a moment in time, I kind of found a hidey hole to take cover in, and I went and opened up Task Manager on my other monitor, and I opened up the graph screen where you can see all your logical cores, and it kind of shows their usage in a graphical format. And it's not just 1 or 2 cores that are running all out. It was actually all 6 cores, all 12 threads were humming. So that does make me wonder, if I had an extra 2 cores to spread it out a little bit, if it would be any better, and if so, how much better. But really the answer is going to be to go to AM5. And again, I'll talk about that later on in the video, what my ideas are for that. But as you can see, the performance in this game, despite this heavy CPU utilization is very good. I experienced no negatives in my gameplay, no hitching, stuttering, lagging, no anything bad, with consistently what I would call good frame rates. So I think that's a win even with this high CPU utilization. Over 100 FPS the whole time, mostly around 120. That's really nothing to sneeze at, especially in this 3440 by 1440 ultra-wide format. You can see my GPU temperature has maintained what I think is pretty good in the high 50s. GPU hotspot, which is kind of an issue with these AMD cards, is running in the 80s. So, you know, my delta is over 20 degrees. Maybe that's not too terrible. I guess I'd prefer to see it in the 70s. And some people have gone and, you know, repasted and done things to these cards or used the Cryonaut sheets on them because the paste has some squeeze out problems. This doesn't seem to be hindering anything, and it's within spec, so I'll just keep using it like this and keep an eye on temps and see, you know, how it goes in the future. But overall, I'm pretty happy with the performance of this system in this game now with these new drivers. Alright, we're in Baldur's Gate 3 now, and I've got doing the voiceover again, I've got the settings up on the screen. You can see everything is maxed out. And we're gonna just run around the city a little bit, and I do a little combat here. But when I was recording and making videos, you know, last year, I was not yet to Act 3, so I was not in the city of Baldur's Gate, which is where the CPU utilization really becomes a factor with all of the NPCs, all the AI and stuff that it has to control. So, and I actually, you know, I just haven't played this game in a long time. I got through Act 2 and I kind of just took a break, so I've been pretty heavy into it here lately. And so I'm happy that I have some saves now in the city so that I can test some stuff out here. And you're seeing pretty much the same kind of performance from the CPU as we did in Helldivers 2. It's running pretty much, you know, 90, 100%. But again, that being said, the performance I think is pretty good. You'll see later on we dip down into the high 60s, low 70s. Right now in this scene, you know, we're hanging out at around 100, and it's starting to dip now. I just decided to, just for the lulls, I'm gonna fight one of these Steel Guardians. I haven't actually fought one yet up until this point, just the way that I'm doing my playthrough. I won't do any spoilers for the game, more than you're gonna see here, I guess, but just to see what combat is like and how it affected things, and it didn't really. In fact, it looks like the FPS in combat here is hanging over 100. So again, same kind of story as in Helldivers. High CPU utilization, but we're still maintaining pretty good frames, and there's no stuttering or hitching or anything. It's been smooth. Now this is a game that FPS doesn't really matter a whole lot. I mean, it could be running 30 FPS and you'd probably have just as good of an experience as you would with 240 FPS. It might look a little bit hinkier, you know, if you're running 30 FPS, but certainly 60 is totally fine. But just like in Helldivers, I think with a CPU upgrade, we would be seeing a lot higher frame rates here. And I know that it's possible because on my 13900K 4090 system, I'm pretty much running 160, 180 FPS, even in the city here. Now, I don't expect the XTX to hit those 4090 numbers, but I think that just shows that there's room for improvement here with a CPU upgrade. So I'm going to finish this combat up, and then I think I take a portal and go to a different part of the city, just where I know there's some more NPCs and whatnot. And when we get there, we'll see the frames drop to their lowest point so far. I think in this section right here, there's just a little bit less stuff going on, and so we have a little bit higher frame rate. I forget here. I had red, but when you damage these Steel Guardians to a certain point, they go into this self-destruct mode. So that's this red bubble that's popped up. So I kind of had an oh crap moment here, and I'm like, oh man, I got to get out of here. And I did manage to get most of my characters out of the bubble, even taking an attack of opportunity to do so. But I was a little worried I was going to get one shot here. Not that it really matters. I didn't save any of this after the fact, but you'll see he's about to blow up, and Lae'zel is still stuck in the circle, so she's going to take all the damage from it. But she lives, so boom, there it goes. Yeah, everybody lived, so that's cool. So we're going to go over to the kind of the starting area here of the city, of the lower city anyway. And here is where we see, 76, 69, 67, 64. We're in that 60 to 70s range with the CPU utilization 95, 100%. Temperature-wise, we're doing okay. Hotspots a little bit lower in this game than what we were seeing in Helldivers. The overall GPU temperature is a couple of degrees cooler as well. GPU utilization in this particular scene here is definitely not 97, 98% like we were seeing in Helldivers. So this game is definitely CPU bound right now. And then you just saw, I switched over to Diablo 4, and the settings, went by, and we're fully maxed out with max RT in Diablo. And this was a surprising experience for me. Our CPU utilization is, I would call it robust at 40-50%, but not at a point where I feel like we're being CPU bottlenecked at all, and the GPU utilization is humming right along at 99, 100%. And yet, this was not a lot of fun to play. I was experiencing a lot of micro stutters and things of that nature. I mean, it was almost like a slideshow trying to play it. So here I'm turning ray tracing off, and watch what a difference it is. It's pretty enormous. It takes a minute to save the changes when toggling ray tracing on and off, but look here, we're 230, 240 FPS. For the most part, you'll see here we're over 180 FPS. I do have some, I don't think the 1% lows are great. Just there, it dropped to 49 for a second, 83, 75, now back up to 199. Now, I didn't notice that in the gameplay, like, at all. It was super smooth. This felt really good. It looks really good. And honestly, in this game, the ray tracing doesn't make a huge difference, in my opinion. It's not like Cyberpunk where you turn all the eye candy on or do like path tracing and it's just like gorgeous. This was definitely more subtle. And just as another comparison, I'm getting similar numbers in this game with my 4090 as I was in Baldur's Gate 3 with ray tracing on, which is, 180-ish FPS. It varies a little bit depending on the scene, of course, but, obviously the 4090 is a lot better at ray tracing than the XTX is, and, that's really no secret, but I really did expect to get like a minimum of 60 FPS with ray tracing on in this game. I didn't know what to expect at all, but this was pretty lackluster in my opinion. But I think there's more people out there that don't really give two cares about ray tracing than do. So if you're one of those people, this isn't even going to matter to you. And actually, somebody got really upset with me on Facebook talking about this, saying that he was getting over 100 FPS and I was making it up and whatever. But I don't know. Maybe it's more of this CPU limiting for me. Maybe with a better CPU, the ray tracing performance would be better. I know ray tracing does increase, work on the CPU, but what I'm looking at right now with it off is, the CPU utilization didn't really change at all with it on versus off. So I'm not really sure if that's it. So I'm going to turn ray tracing back on here, and just because I'm in a different zone, and you'll see we're back down into the 40s again. And a lot of games, I feel like 40 FPS is okay. It's playable. It doesn't feel that bad, but it, in my opinion, in this game, it didn't feel great. So I'm going to take a pause up here, and yeah, here we go. So I'm going to turn FSR on, and I don't remember, I'm pretty sure I do quality. Takes a minute. I couldn't remember where it was because it wasn't labeled as resolution scaling. So there I find FSR2, and yeah, I pick quality. So saving the changes, going back into the game, and now this is a reasonable experience. So if you do want to do ray tracing in this game with your XTX, FSR quality seems to be a reasonable option. It didn't make a huge difference in the frames, but we're over 50, touching 60, but I didn't have any of the stuttering or any of the lagging going on like I did before I turned FSR on. So even though the frame rate isn't a ton higher, I guess really what it did is if you watch what the 1% lows are there, they're a lot closer to the peak FPS, and I think that's why it feels so much better, even though it's still not like an awesome frame rate. So here we go. I'm gonna drop it down to balanced and go back in here. Yeah, that didn't really change much either. We're still 50, 56. Yeah, FPS is still in the 50s, dropping down to balanced. And I don't, even with DLSS, with FSR, with anything, I don't like to drop below balance. Once you get to performance and lower, I feel like the visual quality really goes down. So I didn't even bother to try it here. But then FSR does do this weird thing where I feel like it takes a minute to warm up. And you can see now the frames have picked up to 70 in pretty much the same scene. So, your mileage may vary. I'd give it a try and see. But I don't think I would say, yeah, definitely buy an XTX if you want ray tracing performance. It's okay. It's much better than the 6000 series was. But if you really want to run ray tracing, you really need an NVIDIA GPU. And honestly, even NVIDIA doesn't do it great unless you are, up to like a 4080 or higher. With my 4070 Super, I'm not doing path tracing or anything, but like Cyberpunk, I can run, RT high, and it runs pretty good with DLSS on. But really, if you want all the eye candy and you want, high frame rates and everything with ray tracing on, I think a 4080 is the way to go. 4090, but obviously that's super expensive. All right. Well, I just wanted to take a minute and talk about what we just experienced. Here we are in the Adrenaline home screen. Actually, it gives you this little average here of your FPS, but that includes all the loading screens and everything, so take that with a grain of salt. You guys saw on the overlay, what kind of FPS we were getting, but I just wanted to show you The global graphics are set to default, and I don't have any of the stuff on. And here's tuning. Again, default. I don't have it overclocked. I don't have rage mode on. Nothing like that. But it was pulling 400 watts in pretty much every game, so that's pretty wild. This thing consistently uses about 100 watts more on average, I'd say, than the 4090 does in the same games, same settings, same resolution, all that kind of stuff. This thing is just a power-hungry monster, and overclocked to the nines, right out of the gate. But I'm gonna have to upgrade this CPU. A lot of this today wasn't really a fair trial. Helldivers performed really well despite maxing out the CPU. Baldur's Gate, again, it performed well, but it was definitely held back, so you can't look at that. You can't look at that like it's 100% truth, because, it is what I was getting, but you'd likely see a huge increase in frames with a better CPU than this 5600X 3D. I was a little bit shocked at the performance in Diablo. Over 200 FPS with ray tracing off, and then with ray tracing on max settings, we were getting like 30, 40 FPS, and it took, putting FSR on balance to get it up to, 60, 70 FPS. That was pretty wild. I expected a lot better than that. The 4090 is pulling 180 FPS with max ray tracing on this monitor, with no DLSS. So, yes, this is a lower class, lower tier GPU, and it's AMD, not NVIDIA. So, ray tracing isn't its strength. But previously, I had pretty good results, I thought, in Cyberpunk with ray tracing on. Avatar, played really good. So I was really kind of shocked that Diablo was so low with RT on. I was pleasantly surprised, though, with FSR 2. I didn't think that even on balanced it looked any worse, and I often don't really like FSR. I feel like it gets kind of blurry and muddy looking, as opposed to DLSS. But that looked pretty good, in my opinion. So there's that. It definitely was a playable frame rate with FSR on. It did have a couple of little hang-ups here and there, like little tiny micro stutters. But overall, the experience was pretty good with FSR on. It just, I was still a little bit disappointed. I kind of expected I would get a 60 FPS experience without any upscalers on. I'm not saying I only expected 60, but I kind of thought that would be the minimum. I didn't really think it would be below 60, even with ray tracing on, not on this GPU. So there's that. I think the next step for this system is AM5, obviously. The obvious choice, of course, is to do the 7800X 3D, right? But everybody knows that that's great. That's the best one. So I kind of want to carry on with the theme of this build, which was min-maxing, putting it all into the graphics card, and trying to get by with a lesser CPU. It's just crazy how fast games have advanced just in even the last year or so with how CPU intensive they are. So I think 7700X is the way to go for me. I get an 8-core, 16-thread CPU, no 3D V-cache, but I think it'll perform just fine. The other thing on the table is I might just do a 7600. A 7600 performs about as well as a 5800X 3D, a little bit better in some situations, but I think I'm leaning towards the 8-core. These modern games, a lot of them are really leveraging You know, not just single core performance anymore. They're utilizing all the cores. And if they're not utilizing all the cores all the time, it flips back and forth, you know, which cores are active and whatnot. So I think the 8-core, I think for this level of GPU, I think the 8-core is the way to go. So I think I'm going to do a 7700X. I haven't decided on a motherboard yet. I'll probably end up with just the 6000 mega transfers per second CL30 RAM, because that is what seems to be the most stable on AM5. I'm going to do some more research though and see if I can run a little faster. You know, going up to 6400 or something isn't really going to make a difference. I would really want to run at least 7200 CL34 like I am on the 4090 system. And if that's not possible, then I'm just going to do the 6000 CL30. And then I'll have to retest some of this stuff. But I am going through a bunch of changes right now. I am changing jobs and moving back to North Carolina this summer. So I don't know how much time I'm going to have for making videos until I get situated in North Carolina. I'm going back to the Research Triangle Park area, you know, Raleigh, Durham. I'll be close to where Steve is, Gamers Nexus. Not that he knows who I am or has anything to do with me or anything, just kind of interesting that, you know, he's from that area too. So, yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. Did this meet your expectations, not meet your expectations? I'm kind of a mixed bag right now. Like I mentioned earlier, you know, some of the driver software issues that I've had kind of leave a sour taste in my mouth. But even still, I expected some better results than I got a couple of times. I was pretty happy with Helldivers, and I thought it ran pretty well despite having the 100% CPU usage at times. It definitely didn't have any micro stutters or any kind of hitching or anything like that. It played really good, and that's one of my favorite games, so I'm happy that I can play it on this system and get good performance with it, especially in the 3440 by 1440 Ultrawide. So that's pretty cool. Baldur's Gate, you know, more than or less than half of the frames that I get on the 4090, but you know, who cares? It's Baldur's Gate. You could play that at 30 FPS and it wouldn't be a big deal. It was over 60, so I think that's a win. You can definitely see, you know, that's being held back by the CPU as well. Diablo did not have, I'm going to have to watch the video back again, but I don't think I noticed any big time CPU utilization issues there. And like we talked about already, you know, over 200 FPS without ray tracing on. So it was really crushing Diablo. So that's pretty great. I'm getting pretty big back into that game too. Waiting for season 4 to drop. So that should be a lot of fun. I'll be able to play that on this system, which I like. So let me know what you think. Let me know what your ideas are. You know, should I just get a 7800X 3D and be done with it? Or is that kind of boring? How do you feel about the 7700X or even a 7600? Let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know what you think about all this stuff. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.